for Richard Murdoch!
Good morning. You know, you can't make tea without a little bit of water. It is my great pleasure to be with you. I'm so thrilled to see this many folks come out in my hometown. This afternoon I get to speak at the Tea Party in Indianapolis, and if you think you are not part of the movement, please understand they're expecting 30,000 people up in Indianapolis. And if the rain won't stop those of you in Evansville, I can assure you it's not going to stop those up north either. Well, Michelle mentioned to you this little adventure I was on for about the last 6 weeks. You're quite welcome. It's an honor to serve you. It was an amazing thing to see. I never imagined, as the Chrysler bailout and the bankruptcy ensued, that somehow I would end up being in that sole position in the entire United States to take the stand to say that the government bailout is unconstitutional and wrong. But we took the fight. We were not successful, at least not yet. Stay tuned. We took the fight all the way to the United States Supreme Court, and it was an incredible period of several weeks. And I have to share this one thing with you as we continue to look at our options, and that is for all the editorials that were written, the negative editorials, especially in the northern newspapers, for all the things said about me by the Chrysler employees and by Chrysler and the United Auto Workers, for all that was said by Senator Bayh and Congressman Donnelly up north, for all that was said in the Bankruptcy Court of New York, in the New York District Court, in the United States Court of Appeals, and even in the United States Supreme Court, not one single time did anyone ever question our points of law, ever. I'm often asked, what did I learn through that experience? And what I learned is there are new definitions in America. You see, what that bankruptcy was about and what our case was about was the fact that for more than 150 years of American law, the word secured creditor, which is what we were with our trust funds, if you were a secured creditor, it meant you were first in line in the event of a bankruptcy. That's the way it's been for 150 years. But that's been redefined. It's not that way anymore, apparently. What I learned is that simple terms like due process of law have been redefined, because the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution says that every citizen deserves and is entitled to due process of law before government can take any of their resources. In this case, there was no process of law. It's been redefined. I look at America today and I see even in our cultural as well as our government systems, words are being defined with new meanings. It wasn't that long ago, many of you will remember, in 1970, there was a book written about an incredible adventure. And the name of the book was Failure is Not an Option. That book was eventually made into the movie Apollo 13. At that time, failure is not an option meant that American technology, American creativity, American inventiveness would rise to the occasion to overcome any obstacle. Today, failure is not an option doesn't mean that. It means when businesses might fail, they're otherwise propped up because failure is not an option. That's a redefinition that is not good for America. It was in 1858, in the last of the famous Lincoln-Douglas debates, that Mr. Lincoln said of the great curse of their day, slavery. He put it in the terms of what he said was the eternal struggle between two great forces, right and wrong. He defined what was right as the common right of humanity. He said what was wrong, in the words of his day, the divine right of kings. He said back then it was expressed in the proposition that one man might work and toil and earn to win bread so that some other man could eat it. He said it was wrong. He said the divine right of kings could not be used as an apology for one race of Americans to enslave another race. And slavery, of course, has been vanquished, as well it should have been. But now we see maybe not the divine right of kings, but the growing usurpation of rights by an ever-swelling government. It is the same tyrannical principle. When we look at America being redefined, we have to ask what it is that made us great. You know, I hope none of you came here today as a protester against what you think is wrong, but as a protagonist for what you know to be right. What we know to be right is the traditional definition of America that can be seen not just in names and faces, but in places. Names like Concord, Lexington, Bunker Hill, Yorktown, Saratoga, Baltimore, Washington, D.C., Bull Run, Shiloh, Chickamauga, Devil's Den, Little Round Top, Fredericksburg, Vicksburg, Gettysburg, Havana Harbor, San Juan Hill, Chateau de Thierry in France, the Maginot, the beaches of Normandy, Bastogne, Iwo Jima, Guadalcanal, the Leyte Gulf, Incheon Harbor, Chosin Reservoir, Pork Chop Hill, Da Nang, Hue, Quezon, Kuwait City, Basra, Mosul, Tikrit, Baghdad, Kabul. These places may be separated by 233 years of history and by half the circumference of the globe, but they have one thing in common. Their soils, their waters have been stained red by the blood of Americans who knew that freedom was God's greatest gift. What we must redefine in this country is simply that recollection of what freedom brings. We can no longer think it is someone else's job to take that message up and down the street in the fall near an election. We must take it up and down the street every day of this year and the next and the next and the next. We come together to say, yes, that government is growing too big and too powerful. But we are here on the 4th of July to celebrate those unalienable rights that we were acknowledged to have so long ago. And so I ask you tonight, to start a new tradition. Because I'm going to assume the skies are going to clear and there will be fireworks tonight. And if it's not tonight, it'll be tomorrow night. And when you gather and watch those fireworks, when that the great cascade comes at the end, the grand finale, I hope that you will pull your children close as it starts to wind down, and as the Hoosier sky is filled with explosions and light and sound, I hope you whisper in your child's ear or in your grandchildren's ear one word: liberty. And with each blast, say it again: liberty! And say it again: liberty! 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 That's what America's about. That's our true definition.
Thank you, Richard Murdoch. Isn't it wonderful to have great Hoosier values and great leadership in the state of Indiana? And thank you so much for coming. He's got one more Tea Party ahead of him today, and he came to spend it with us.